Hello, how are you today? My name is Marcus Ray. I am the co-owner of Immortal Ray Productions and the husband of Sondra Ray. It's my great privilege to introduce you to Sondra Ray, author of 30 books on popular subjects like relationships, spirituality, healing, holiness, and her most popular book, The Only Diet There Is. In 1976, she created the Loving Relationships Training, which is the subject of these talks today. The Loving Relationships Training was taught all over the world in many countries to thousands of people. It's been helping people in relationships ever since then, and now we're proud to present these talks on this platform. So without further ado, I introduce you to Sondra Ray.
Hello, I'm so excited to be with you, and what I'm going to present is the Loving Relationships Training in different segments. The reason I created the Loving Relationships Training, which we call the LRT, is because in the 70s I went to California and I was looking for a seminar on relationships for myself. And they had all kinds of new seminars springing up, but I couldn't find one on relationships. So I said to people, where is a seminar on relationships? And they said, everyone's too screwed up in that area to teach it. So I thought, oh my God, maybe I have to be the one. So I was interested in this subject, so I started researching it and studying it and studying it, and pretty soon I started writing it down, and it came out great, and it's been going on ever since the 70s, all over the world. I happened to become one of the very first rebirthers on the planet, and I was studying how one's birth trauma affects one's relationships. So I went to Hawaii and I gave a one-day talk on this, and the people were astounded. They said, Sondra, this explains everything, but it's too much to integrate in one day. So I came back and I started writing a 2-day seminar on that subject, and then I expanded it with everything about relationships. One of the most important things people need to know is how their mind works. And this is something we should have learned in the first day of school, that your thoughts create your results. So negative thoughts produce negative results. Positive thoughts create positive results. Well, you may think you know this, but are you applying it? Are you observing your thoughts constantly and raising the quality of your thoughts by changing any negative thought to the opposite? This is a spiritual discipline that we all must do. And there's so much to learn about this. You may think it's simple. You will meet in life the exact reproduction of your thoughts. Think about that. Your reality is a feedback mechanism. In fact, your results are your guru. Guru means teacher. So that means your results are going to teach you what your mind was doing. So if you're getting bad results, then that means you had bad thoughts you need to correct. If you're getting good results, that means you had good thoughts. The point is that you draw into your life what you constantly think about. So really be careful what you're thinking about, because it's a law that what you think about expands. So that means if you think about how poor you are, you're going to get more poor. If you dwell on how sick you are, you're going to get more sick. So be careful. You have to be the Sherlock Holmes of your results. So if you get a bad result, you want to know what was the thought that caused this result. So you can do a simple truth process. The negative thought I had that created that result was. You can write that down or just state it out loud. Another principle of this is that everything comes to you by your invitation. So everything that happened to you, you invited that. Well, you might say, I never invited a car accident, but your subconscious thoughts invited the car accident. So one has to have a technique to look at subconscious thoughts, and we'll give that to you. No one can hurt you even except by your invitation. So if someone hurts you, you actually drew that to you. You may feel like a victim, they did it to me, but that's not the case. There are no victims. If somebody hurt you, you actually drew that to you. We study the Course in Miracles, and Lesson 31 says, I am not a victim of the world I see. I recommend you review that. Just to reiterate, because this is important, everything comes to you by your invitation. Even if you got hurt, no one can hurt you except by your invitation. Furthermore, only you can deprive yourself of anything. This is really important, because you might wonder, why am I not getting what other people are getting? Well, it's because you're depriving yourself of this with your own thoughts. So you have to find out why you're not letting in what you want, and you can say the negative thought I had that prevents me from receiving what I want is, and then you can find out. In the Course in Miracles, lesson 336 says, I rule my mind, which I alone must rule. So that's another important lesson for you to study. In fact, no one can even suffer unless it's his own decision. You may not believe that you're the cause of suffering, but your thoughts are the cause of suffering. And even if you're suffering pain, it means you chose that. Even if you're having a sickness, you chose that. So this is really important to understand, that thought is creative always applies. No one even dies without his own consent. So people will say, well, I was thinking pretty good thoughts, but this terrible thing happened to me. Well, it's because the subconscious thoughts reared their ugly head and they produced the results. This is why we need a technique for clearing our subconscious. And this is exactly why we encourage everyone to do liberation breathing. Because in this breathing technique, your subconscious comes up to your conscious so that you can see it and change it. And this is a miracle. So most people who don't do breathing techniques like that, their subconscious is running them. And they wonder, why am I getting these terrible results even though I have some positive thoughts? One has to clean out the subconscious. For example, I didn't think I had any fears. I thought I was a fearless person. I never felt fear. I wasn't scared of anything. Well, during the pandemic, I did a lot of breathing, and I found out I had some fears down there. Like, what if I can't get over this condition type of thoughts? And those were fears. And I was so glad I had liberation breathing to bring up that fear to consciousness so I could change it. Here's a biggie. You are the creator of your own movie, and everyone in the world is playing the part you assign them. Now, what does that mean? That means if you're in a relationship and your mate is abusing you, you may totally feel like a victim, but you assigned them to do that. You drew it out of them with your thoughts or your patterns. Believe it or not, this is really an important thing to realize, that people are acting out your mind and you're calling to them the results you're getting from them. You might have a subconscious thought, I'm bad, or I'm guilty, or I deserve to be mistreated somehow. So those thoughts will draw in people to abuse you. If you're guilty, guilt demands punishment. If you're bad, you attract bad things. So these subconscious thoughts can draw in behaviors from your mate, believe it or not. I'm going to give you a case study on this very topic. I had a client who was a brilliant female lawyer, and she loved liberation breathing. She got healed in her first session, and she was really going for it with her sessions. So then she got more and more bored with her marriage because her husband wouldn't come. And then she decided she was going to leave him. But for a last-ditch approach, she begged me to give him a session. I said, well, he has to come and want it for himself, which I wasn't sure if he did, and I didn't think so. But I said, okay, I love you, and I want to give it another shot, so I will try a session with him. So he came to my apartment, very brilliant, handsome lawyer, dressed in an expensive suit and a white starched shirt and a tie, and this is what he was going to breathe in. Well, anyway, he sat down next to me, and I said to him, I just want to make sure that you understand that your thoughts create your results. And he shocked me. He said, I don't believe that. And I thought, wow. I said, this is right where your marriage is stuck. How can it work if your wife understands that and you don't? And you know what? He had a good session, but he never came back because he didn't want to look at his thoughts. So they got divorced, by the way. Hopefully, we all want to go for enlightenment in this incarnation. To be enlightened, you have to understand these things I've been saying. You have to apply them, and you have to know what they mean, and you have to think about them a lot so that you won't let your thoughts run amok.